I am Sarah. I cannot imagine my married life like that.
Evelyn, my mother-in-law. Evelyn was the quintessential overbearing mother-in-law.
She always critiques my cooking, questions my career, and hints about grandchildren. It's like she sees me as the enemy, not family.
In the heart of suburban Chicago, where the autumn leaves painted the streets in hues of crimson and gold, lived Sarah Thompson. At 32, she was a graphic designer with a penchant for oversized sweaters and strong coffee, married to her high school sweetheart, Mark, for 5 years. Their life was a comfortable routine: weekend brunches at local diners, evening walks with their golden retriever, Buddy, and dreams of starting a family someday. But looming over their happiness like a persistent shadow was Mark's mother, Evelyn, Sarah's mother-in-law. Evelyn Harper was a force of nature, a 65-year-old widow with silver-streaked hair pulled into a neat bun, sharp blue eyes that missed nothing, and a tongue that could cut like a winter wind off Lake Michigan. Born and raised in the Windy City, she embodied the no-nonsense grit of Midwestern America. After losing her husband, Tom, to a sudden heart attack 10 years ago, Evelyn had thrown herself into her role as the family matriarch, micromanaging everything from holiday dinners to Mark's career choices. To Sarah, Evelyn was the quintessential overbearing mother-in-law, always critiquing her cooking, questioning her career ambitions, and dropping not-so-subtle hints about grandchildren. It started small, as these things often do. On their wedding day, Evelyn had pulled Sarah aside in the bustling reception hall of a downtown hotel, her voice a whisper laced with steel. "Mark's always been my baby boy. Take good care of him, or you'll answer to me." Sarah had laughed it off, chalking it up to maternal protectiveness. But as the years ticked by, the barbs grew sharper. "Sarah, dear, that lasagna looks interesting. Did you follow my recipe or, during family gatherings at Evelyn's cozy ranch-style home in Oak Park, when are you two going to give me grandkids? I'm not getting any younger, you know." Sarah tried to brush it aside, but the resentment built like snowdrifts in a Chicago blizzard. Mark, ever the peacemaker, would squeeze her hand under the table and murmur, "She's just lonely, babe. Give her time." But time didn't soften Evelyn; if anything, it hardened her edges. Sarah began dreading Thanksgiving, that quintessential American feast where Evelyn's turkey was always perfectly roasted, her pies award-worthy, and her comments pointedly aimed at Sarah's store-bought contributions. One crisp October evening, as the sun dipped below the skyline, Sarah sat on their porch swing, sipping chamomile tea and staring at the fading light. Mark joined her, his flannel shirt rumpled from a long day at the accounting firm. "Mom called," he said casually, but Sarah's stomach tightened. "She wants us over for dinner this weekend. Says she has something important to discuss." Sarah groaned. "Let me guess, another lecture on why I should quit my job and focus on being a mom." Mark chuckled, but his eyes were serious. "Come on, Sar. She's not that bad. Remember how she helped us with the down payment on this house?" Sarah sighed, leaning her head on his shoulder. "I know. But it's like she sees me as the enemy, not family." The dinner that Saturday was a tense affair. Evelyn's home smelled of pot roast and apple cider, the table set with her finest china relics from her own wedding. As they ate, Evelyn cleared her throat. "I've been thinking," she began, her fork poised mid-air, "about the future. Mark, you're doing well at work, but Sarah, have you considered scaling back? Family comes first in this country, you know. Look at all those working moms burning out." Sarah's cheeks flushed. "Evelyn, I love my job. And we're not ready for kids yet." Evelyn's eyes narrowed. "Not ready at your age. Tom and I had Mark by 25. Life doesn't wait, dear." The argument escalated, voices rising like the wind howling through the city streets. Mark tried to mediate, but Sarah stormed out, tears stinging her eyes as she drove home alone. That night, in the quiet of their bedroom, she confided in Mark. "I can't do this anymore. She's toxic." Mark held her close. "I'll talk to her. But she's my mom, Sar. She's all I have left of Dad." Weeks passed in a frosty silence. Thanksgiving loomed, but Sarah declared she wouldn't go. "Spend it with her if you want," she told Mark. "I'll stay here with Buddy." But fate, as it often does in America's heartland tales, had other plans. On a blustery November morning, Mark's phone rang. It was the hospital. Evelyn had collapsed while raking leaves in her yard. "A stroke," they said. Mark rushed over, Sarah trailing behind despite her anger. In the sterile white room of Northwestern Memorial Hospital, Evelyn lay pale and frail, tubes snaking from her arms, monitors beeping like a somber symphony. Sarah stood at the foot of the bed, her heart twisting. This wasn't the formidable woman she knew, this was vulnerability incarnate. Mark clutched his mother's hand, whispering childhood stories to rouse her. Hours blurred into days. Evelyn regained consciousness, but her speech was slurred, her right side weakened. The doctors spoke of rehabilitation, long months ahead. In the waiting room, amid vending machine coffee and worried families, Sarah found herself reflecting. Why had Evelyn been so hard on her? Was it jealousy, grief, or something deeper? One evening, as Mark dozed in a chair, Sarah approached Evelyn's bedside. "I'm sorry," she whispered, though she wasn't sure why. Evelyn's eyes fluttered open, focusing with effort. "Sarah, come closer." Hesitant, Sarah sat. Evelyn's voice was a rasp. I was wrong. About you." Sarah blinked back tears. "What do you mean?" Evelyn's hand trembled as she reached for Sarah's. "Tom, he was my everything. When he died, I clung to Mark. Saw you as, taking him away. But you're good for him. Strong. Like I was." The confession hung in the air, heavy with unspoken regrets. Over the next weeks, as Evelyn transferred to a rehab center in the suburbs, Sarah visited daily. She brought homemade soups following Evelyn's recipes this time and read from old romance novels Evelyn loved. Conversations flowed, tentative at first, then deeper. Evelyn shared stories of her youth, meeting Tom at a sock hop in the 70s, building a life amid Chicago's bustling energy, the joy of raising Mark. "I pushed you because I was scared," Evelyn admitted one afternoon, sunlight streaming through the window onto her therapy mat. "Scared of being alone. But you're family now." Sarah nodded, her own fears melting. "I want to be. Tell me more about Tom." And so, the stories poured out. Tom, the Vietnam vet who came home quiet but kind, working as a mechanic to support them. Their first home, a tiny apartment in Wrigleyville where they cheered for the Cubs through lean years. The miscarriage before Mark, a pain Evelyn had buried deep. "I never talked about it," she said, tears glistening. "But it made me hold on tighter." Sarah shared too her own losses, like her parents' divorce when she was 10, leaving her wary of deep bonds. "That's why your comments hurt," she confessed. "Felt like judgment." Evelyn squeezed her hand. "Not judgment. Envy. You have what I lost." As winter blanketed Chicago in snow, Evelyn improved. Physical therapy sessions became family affairs, Mark cheering as his mother took halting steps. Christmas arrived, not at Evelyn's house, but in their own, with Evelyn wheeled in, her face lit by the tree's glow. Sarah had decorated with Evelyn's heirloom ornaments, a gesture that brought tears to the older woman's eyes. "Thank you," Evelyn whispered as they exchanged gifts, a handmade quilt from Sarah, symbolizing warmth and mending. But healing isn't linear, especially in emotional landscapes. One stormy January night, Evelyn suffered a setback, a minor seizure. Back in the hospital, fears resurfaced. Sarah sat vigil, holding Evelyn's hand through the night. "Don't leave us," she murmured. Evelyn woke at dawn, weak but lucid. "Sarah, there's something I need to tell you." What followed was a floodgate of memories. Evelyn spoke of her regrets, being too strict with Mark, not traveling more with Tom, burying her dreams of writing poetry under domestic duties. "I see myself in you," she said. "Don't wait." Live. Inspired, Sarah began journaling their conversations, weaving them into a story. Mark noticed the change, the softening in both women. "You're like sisters now," he teased. Spring thawed the city, and Evelyn returned home, stronger but forever changed. She moved in with them temporarily, their guest room becoming her sanctuary. Mornings were filled with coffee and talks on the porch. Watching joggers in the park, Evelyn taught Sarah family recipes, true Chicago deep dish pizza, not the tourist kind, and Sarah showed her digital art, even creating a portrait of Tom from old photos. One evening, as barbecue smoke wafted from the backyard, Evelyn pulled Sarah aside. "I'm proud of you. And I'm sorry for everything." Sarah hugged her, tears flowing. "I forgive you. And I love you, Mom." The word slipped out, but it fit. Evelyn's eyes sparkled. "Love you too, daughter." But life, in its American dream facade, holds twists. In late summer, Evelyn's health declined again. Tests revealed cancer, hidden by the stroke's shadow, pancreatic, aggressive. The diagnosis hit like a freight train barreling through the plains. "We'll fight this," Mark declared, but Evelyn shook her head. "I've had my time. Now, it's about quality." Hospice care began, transforming their home into a haven of comfort. Friends and neighbors rallied, a testament to Evelyn's community roots. Block parties she'd organized, volunteer work at the local food bank. Sarah took leave from work, dedicating days to care. They watched old movies, like It's a Wonderful Life, Evelyn's favorite, reminding them of small-town values in a big city. Nights were hardest, pain meds dulling Evelyn's sharpness but not her spirit. She dictated letters to Mark, apologies and advice. To Sarah, she gave a box of keepsakes, Tom's dog tags, her wedding veil, poetry notebooks yellowed with age. "Write our story," Evelyn urged. "For the grandkids someday." Sarah promised, though her heart ached. As fall returned, leaves crunching underfoot, Evelyn slipped away peacefully one dawn, Buddy curled at her feet, Mark and Sarah by her side. The funeral was a celebration Chicago style, with jazz music and stories shared over hot dogs and beer. Sarah delivered the eulogy, voice steady despite tears. "Evelyn wasn't just my mother-in-law, she became my mother, my friend. She taught me that family isn't blood, it's the bonds we forge through storms." In the months that followed, grief ebbed and flowed like the lake's tides. Sarah discovered she was pregnant, a surprise amid sorrow. As her belly grew, she wrote the story Evelyn inspired, pouring emotions onto pages. "Echoes of the Heart," she titled it, a tribute to the woman who challenged her, then changed her. On a sunny May day, baby Evelyn arrived, her cries echoing through the hospital. Holding her daughter, Sarah whispered, "Your grandma would be so proud." Years later, reading the book to little Evie, Sarah felt Evelyn's presence. In America's tapestry of family sagas, theirs was one of redemption, emotional, raw, and profoundly human.